Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have for you. ETH and a possible attack discovered. We're going to talk about that. And we have Wells Fargo makes an incredible omission about digital assets. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. XRP to peso. We're going to talk about that. Ripple in government's favor. We got Ripple's James Wallace laying it down about the private ledger, central bank digital currencies, and Amazon Web Services, and David Schwartz dropping truth bombs on top of it. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Don't mess around. Right now, it is August 7th, Sunday morning. Good morning, everybody. It is $1.097 trillion for the market cap for crypto this morning. Bitcoin, 23,100 plus. Ethereum, 1,700, slightly over. And the number 6 spot, holding it down, it's XRP at 37 cents. Good morning, everyone. The range of price very quickly here is 37 cents on the bottom, 38 on the top. Very tight trading range this morning. We'll keep an eye on it, off by 0.39%. Look, I show you Masterworks for the first time ever. You can invest in blue chip art just like the richest people of the world. One of my core tenets is that I'm stacking my pennies next to their dollars. Whatever the richest people in the world are doing, I'm trying to do in scale in my world, because I know that they don't lose, right? This is one of the things that I've never been able to do because I can't afford a $653,000 painting or $1.1 million or $1.7 million or 3.4. But I tell you this, you can now with Masterworks, because for $20 a share, you can now participate in owning shares of some of the greatest artwork in the world, ladies and gentlemen. S&P 500 comparisons, or compare it to the housing market, U.S. corporate bonds, or gold. Look at this, U.S. corporate bonds, 0.69%. This person's work, 0.74. And you could go down and invest solely based on these metrics if you're not an art person. This is what I love. It is wonderful. This is that they're offering this, and I'm very excited about it. I will be re-upping very soon. And you know I always share when I do. Let's go ahead and get started this morning. Kava is crushing it, ladies and gentlemen. You know, in a time where all this uncertainty is going on, Kava has doubled down, and they're building and building and growing and growing, and evidence of it right here. Kava 11 is set to launch in September 8th. Coinbase Rosetta combined and compatible now with Kava. This is just amazing, the things that they're doing here. Upcoming Kava release 11 on September 8th will introduce bKava to the first fully convertible staking derivative. How about that? And like I said, you know, Coinbase Rosetta and EVM supported live. And right now, Kava hits a new milestone of 20 new protocols deployed on the Cosmos EVM. How about that? Give them a like and follow. It just doesn't stop with them. It's amazing. Take a look at this from Michael Branch, Hall of Famer. Give him a follow. It's at Core. The paper highlights here an issue where miners on the Ethereum network can change the timestamp related to mine block to avoid increased difficulty on the network. But what does that really mean? Because I'm not really a huge developer, programmer at all, but this is what it means right here. Ethereum is maintained through proof of work consensus mechanism, which will be moved to proof of stake this September. However, to this point, the network appears to be susceptible to the attack identified by the Hebrew University here. The consensus level attack is referred to as an Uncle Maker attack within the paper in reference to the Uncle block used in the exploit. Blocks within the Ethereum blockchain act as a set of records that are checked, distributed, and verified across the entire network. Uncle blocks are valid blocks that have been removed from the main chain but still receive awards. This is what it says here. The attack allows an attacker to replace competitors' main chain blocks after the fact with a block of its own, thus causing the replacing blocks miner to lose all transaction fees for the transactions contained within the block, which will be demoted from the main chain. Boy, I tell you, it's going to be interesting to see what September looks like when they make this change to proof of stake from proof of work with Ethereum. And they say, even still, Vitalik Buterin has said that it will only be 50 to 51% of the network switched over to proof of stake. I don't know. This is something to pay attention to. If that's not successful, I think it's going to be a real problem for Ethereum going forward. Take a look at this for fun. Yeah, a gentleman here in Connecticut says, I got my license plate. It says XRP.XLM. Yeah. David Schwartz states the obvious. It says they accidentally put a dot instead of a greater than, less than symbol. Go, David. That's fun. But let's take a look at this. You talk about fun. Oh, it's going to get fun. Wells Fargo, a banking household name, if not mistaken, I think it's the fourth largest bank, just released a special report, and guess what they said? They're stating that the innovation of digital assets are as important, and compare the digital assets to the invention of the internet, cars, and electricity. The fourth largest bank in the United States. Any questions? We may have a lack of clarity, but all it really means is we're early. And we don't know which ones will win and which ones won't, but we're here to be able to figure that out as best we can and get as many nets in the water for what we believe will win, right? Almost like a baby venture capitalist at this point is what we look like, really, to the rest of the world as a speculator, right? Internet of Value produced its global investment strategy team. The report published at start of August bullishly called digital assets building blocks of the new internet. Comment directed to Wells Fargo investment customers stated that the advancement of digital assets will bring new possibilities and investment opportunities. Many expect digital assets to be building blocks of a new internet, the Internet of Value. The Internet of Value is likely to be disruptive to the world of finance, just as the original internet was to communications and information. What it may mean for investors? We're going to get rich if we got the money in the right things. That's what it means. If we have the patience to see this through to real adoption, to real mass adoption through the financial system, right on down to the consumer level. This is an exciting time for all of us to be here. There's no question. Users can now convert Ripple XRP to Mexican pesos, courtesy of Everest Partners Bitso, to facilitate cross-border settlement from Ripple XRP to Mexican peso. And this reminds me of the early days with MoneyGram when they were doing US dollar to Mexican peso. And I tell you, when I think of that, it really, first of all, it's a huge plus for all remittance companies. But more importantly, it's another litmus test for regulators to see how well the asset works at doing what it is designed to do. Don't forget, the XRP ledger is a decentralized exchange for the world. A recent report suggests that Ripple is eyeing growth through central bank digital currencies, and this might provide a favorable standing with governments. I'm reminded, I don't know if it was Thomas Jefferson or who exactly had said it, but a revolution comes from within. And that's exactly what Ripple has been doing from day one, is building from within the system. That is key. As opposed to, let's say, not to pick on it, but Bitcoin, right? Anti-establishment, anti-bank. Look at the great contradiction is the Bitcoin maxi. They're all about anti-bank, anti-establishment, anti-government. That's why I hold Bitcoin. But then they jump up and down in the streets when they hear huge hedge funds and banks wanting to hold a position in Bitcoin. What they don't realize is if they decide to pull their money out tomorrow, it's going to crash the price of Bitcoin. And if they come out and regulate it away because you can't get rid of the tech, they could tax it out of existence with a carbon tax because it's proof of work, right? Or they could just say, hey, if I catch you as a business accepting Bitcoin, I'm going to either fine you or put you in jail for so many years. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just telling you that whether you like this or not, governments have the ability to decide just how important or relevant something will be, XRP included. Many cryptocurrency investors are looking to reap massive returns as a 50-year-old international payment system moves on to the blockchain beginning in November 2022, really talking about that whole go live moment with SWIFT and other entities to move to ISO 20022. And when you look at this diagram here, you see Ripple smack dab in the middle of it, Interledger, Hyperledger, Quill, R3. I'm not going to go over it all. R3 quarter bridge, right? Algorand, Quant, Stellar, Hedera Hashgraph, Accenture, ISO, IOTA, all of these things are things that I'm trying to get a position in. And then what I am already in, I'm trying to get a deeper position in. This is not financial advice. I'm sharing my digital perspectives. Some of these may never take place. Some of these may not grow to the size that I believe they will. But it's what I'm willing to take a chance on. That's where I'm at. I'm just sharing my perspective on it. You got to do your own research. And talking about doing your own research, here from Ripple, we are going to do some cloud gazing, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a podcast with Ripple's James Wallace, the VP of Central Bank Digital Currencies, covers several topics. And I tell you, they are profound, what he says right here. And I've clipped it down to what you need to hear. He is going to tell you about Ripple and the central bank leading engagement for central bank digital currencies and how the private ledger for central bank, Ripple has been deploying nodes on the Amazon Web Services sandbox for years for the private ledger of central banks. For years, he says. Take a listen.
Absolutely. So as we thought about how we would get started on this, building out this solution and platform, cloud was the front and center. We've been deploying nodes on AWS for years internally within Ripple. So when we decided to create the CBDC ledger, we've deployed it through a sandbox on AWS as we sort of roll out projects with central banks. I think most of them will want a cloud infrastructure. There may be some for regulatory purpose that need to do an on-premise implementation, but I think certainly at this stage of pilots and proof of concepts and early implementations, people see the benefit of a cloud-based structure. In fact, we will be using the CBDC ledger on the cloud as part of this CBDC Innovate program that I mentioned previously. My prediction is that pretty much every country that has a central bank will eventually issue a digital version of their currency.
So do I, James. Would you say, at least in the next decade, you think that a certain percentage will be moving this way? Regulations are just always so interesting, depending on what market you're referring to. But it looks like most governments and central banks seem to be quite open about digital currencies. So do you see this potentially happening in the next 10 to 15 years? That, most governments will, or central banks at least, will be more or will be adapting to CBDC? I'm always very optimistic, and I think the leading countries that are furthest along, I think it will be in the 2 to 5 year period. China is very advanced on digital currency, although it's not really blockchain based. It's much more of a centralized system. Right.
There've been some notable pilots around early programs like in the Bahamas. So I think we're seeing now the market on the whole going from like research into like pilots, right? I think the pilots is the name of the game for the next couple of years. And then I think that will then start to go into early stage implementations. I think the implementations will probably all start with 1 or 2 specific use cases and it'll be relatively limited. But I think certainly by 10 years from now, I think it'll be just pervasive and people won't even be thinking about the conversations we're having now, right? It'll just be everyone has it and they'll be using it. At a broader level as a company, we're always innovating and we're expanding our offerings. So we have RippleNet, we have some offerings around liquidity management, and now central bank digital currencies. The journey will continue to be financially based and payments sort of centered, but I can see other add-ons, if you like, over the coming years. I mean, in my particular area, one of the countries that we're working with is already thinking about DeFi using CBDC.
and DeFi with central bank digital currencies as well, which obviously is where every single thing is going, ladies and gentlemen. How incredible is that? And now let's go back to this clip here from David Schwartz, who really told us just a short time ago, it was a while back he had this clip here, but when he broke down and said it this way, now I want you to take what James Wallace just told you and then hear right here what David Schwartz is telling you about the reality of the technology of the Ledger and XRP here.
We have the technology to allow every financial institution on the planet to settle with every other financial institution in a compatible jurisdiction in any asset in seconds for less than a penny. Just think about this. Anyone who's made a payment knows that we're nowhere near that today. But imagine every financial institution settling with every other financial institution in seconds for less than a penny, any asset. That's fundamentally transformative. We have the technology to do it. Now we just need to figure out how to drive the adoption. And of course, there's all the challenges with there's incumbents, there's regulation, there's inertia. You know, there's the big players who are really trying to defend. You know, if you're one of the largest banks in the world, you want to push pause or stop on technology because you're in the lead. So of course, like you say you love technology, but obviously you wish you could stop it. So we have.
Now, coming back to what James Wallace had said in this clip, he said, I think it starts with a couple first that are like really out on the forefront. And then over time, in the next couple, 2 to 5 years, you see the first couple like first mover advantages get out there and get going. That, I believe, is the real tipping point, because once you have two banks doing it and using it, they're getting the full benefit of using the ledger, the settlement of XRP where applicable. They're getting the instant settlement in seconds. And at that point, the rest of the market is losing from that second on. And how long can they afford to lose? And I tell you, it isn't long. And they won't be far behind. I can guarantee you that. And this is exciting to me. And it makes it, look, and before we get out of here, I want to remind you of all of this. It is my digital perspectives. I want you to vet every single thing I say. Vet what David says. Vet what James Wallace says as best you can. Make sure you understand exactly what the ultimate intended goal is here for XRP. And I believe they are sharing it right to us as directly as they possibly can, understanding, and I'm sure everyone at Ripple is held underneath an enormous amount of NDAs. That's going to do it for me. But before I get out of here, I want to remind you, speaking of Ripple and XRP, if you want to get Ripple shares, you can do it on link2.com. If you don't know if you're accredited, get verified. And right now, before midnight tonight, Pacific time, you can get $1,000 in Link2 bucks sent back to you being a first-time investor. If you're already a member, click the link you see right here or the one underneath this video, because even if you're already a member, you'll get special pricing. That's what we're talking about. Link2.com, private investing made simple. I'll catch all of you on the next one.